Hey there, Marshall Hadeen here. How are you? So today we're going to take a look at some of my arachnid and lizard salamander images. I've taken these over the past 12 months. I've learned a lot about macrophotography over that time interval, and I'd like to share some images and techniques with you. I'll show you some spider and insect and other macro images later and talk about how I take these. Alright, let's get into the arachnids and friends. This sand scorpion. This is from Anza Borrego Desert State Park, which is in Southern California. I'm from San Diego. So I obviously shot this at night. It's out in some low desert habitat at night, and these sand scorpions are pretty common. This guy I got down low on my belly, shot the animal as I found it. Most of the images that I will show you are photographed as found. You can see that the scorpion has 8 eyes, 3 little eyes down here, little lateral eyes, and then the main principal eyes up here. These are the scorpion chelicerae, homologous to the fangs of a spider. These are the pedipalps. The scorpion uses the pedipalps to capture prey and then will sting it with its tail. This is a slender salamander, a Batrachoceps, that I found in my backyard in San Diego. I found this after it started to rain in the winter season, just under a stone in my backyard. I took multiple images of this salamander and then I stacked them together to make this photostacked image. I just find this really pleasing. Such awesome little animals. Here's another scorpion from San Diego County. This is called a swollen tail scorpion. You can see its tail is swollen, so it's a very apt common name. I shot this scorpion under 360 nanometer UV light. Of course, scorpions fluoresce under UV. The cool thing about this particular UV light is that because the wavelength is specific, it doesn't make the background fluoresce, so then the animal just kind of looks like it's out in outer space. I really like that effect. Scorpions have huge pedipalps to capture prey, and they also have these really interesting kind of structures on their palps. You can see those little things there. I'm not sure what those are for. This is a different species of salamander that we can find in Southern California called an incentina. These animals are only found at the highest elevations in Southern California, but are more common in different habitats as you go further north in California. So I've been looking for this salamander for a long time up on our local mountains, and you find them again in the winter under generally woody debris, downed logs and such. And I found this beautiful specimen, again photographed as found. It was snowy out. I was so happy to find this. And I returned it, of course, and put the log back where I found it. So a bit later in the year, but not too far from where I found the incentina, I found these Ortholasma harvestmen, again under woody debris. So harvestmen are arachnids, opiliones, but they're not spiders. These Ortholasma are very cool because they have these ornate kind of window-like structures on their abdomens. I love that. They also have this really interesting cephalic hood that comes out over their little tiny pedipalps, and their chelicerae are down there. These are the eyes. They only have 2 eyes, 1 pair of eyes. We don't really know what these cephalic hoods are for, how they function. It might be the case that there's there are chemicals released and they come out onto the cephalic hood. I've sometimes have seen these moist appearing, but again, we don't really know. This is a schizomid, which is also an arachnid, obviously, but they're in their own order, schizomida. I found this schizomid in a desert palm canyon in March or April. So I found a little shaded ravine and started flipping some stones and was really surprised to see this schizomid, because although there's a different species in the area, there are no populations known from where I found this schizomid, so it might be a new species. Beautiful abdomen. You can see that it has these tergites. Those are external evidence that the abdomen itself is primitively segmented. Those are really nice. You can also see the really fine hairs here on the pedipalps of this schizomid. And the first legs are antenniform. They're used as, or like antennae, they're not true antennae, to sense their world. Their world is a really interesting one. Of course, they live under rocks, but this animal is found in a very harsh, hot desert. And in July or August, it would be 120 Fahrenheit there. The animal could not be found on the surface. It would die and desiccate. So it's retreating deep underground to some soil matrix where it can find some moisture. But in the winter, when there are rains, it'll come up near the surface. Not on the surface, but up near the surface, and you can find it under a rock. These animals are predators, so they would just be looking for other small microarthropods in that really cool soil matrix. And if you look more closely, you can see that the animal lacks eyes, which you might expect because it essentially lives in a little micro cave or a micro cavern underground in the soil. Again, these are the pedipalps. The chelicerae are right here. So here's another harvestman like that Ortholasma, an Opiliones. This is in a different genus, and we can find these in our local oak woodlands in San Diego area. And this is called Protolophus, and you can see that, again, it has two eyes, a single pair of eyes. They're on this tubercle, and that tubercle has interesting spines. And then further back on the abdomen, there's again another little tubercle with spines, another tubercle with spines. This is called Protolophus singularis. This is an adult male, and you can tell that because his pedipalps are massive and robust, and he uses these to wrestle with females during copulation. You can also see on his palps there are cool little tubercles that he might use to better grasp the female. These are his first legs, and at the end of his first legs is a tarsus that is pseudo-segmented. These are not true segments, it's just false articulations, which allow the animal to kind of loop his legs around structures in the environment. Here's another Opiliones, a harvestman. This is in the genus Eurybunus. This is found, these harvestmen are found in the desert, which is somewhat unusual. Again, they're active during the spring months, like Protolophus or like the schizomid. So on this particular night, it was interesting. We were walking a road at night, and we found lots of Eurybunus on the road, but they were scavenging their fallen brethren, which had been stomped on somehow. So to me, it seemed like a vicious circle, because perhaps these would succumb to the same fate and also be stomped on, and then other Eurybunus would come and feed on them. You can also see these little orange things on the legs of these Eurybunus. These are mites, which are also arachnids. So arachnids as parasites on other arachnids. These Eurybunus, you see this white cuticle? This fluoresces. So next year I'm going to take my 360 NM and go out to the desert and capture some epic images of a fluorescent Eurybunus. I can't wait. On that same night in this desert canyon full of granite, we found the beautiful granite night lizard. These are spectacular lizards that are kind of endemic to this specific granite slab habitat. And if you go out at night, and if you're lucky, they'll be out active on the granite walls. So this specimen was active on the granite walls, and this was photographed again as found. I love this animal so much. They're such elegant, beautiful lizards. I was so fortunate that this animal just kind of hung out while I took its picture. And later that same evening, we found some leaf-toed geckos. Again, kind of a paradoxical animal for such a harsh environment. It seems so fragile and transparent. But there it was in this really pretty harsh desert canyon. Again, on a moist evening in the springtime. Similar situation. This animal was on this granite wall and it just hung out there. So I very carefully snuck upon it and took these images, photographed as found. I'm not sure if I love the granite knight more than the leaf toad, probably, but they're both super cool animals. Look at the toes of this gecko. I should have used my macro lens to take some close-ups, but I didn't. This is a little mite, a little arachnid, like those mites on that Eurybunus, but obviously a totally different family mite. So mites are arachnids, and I found this little velvet mite under woody debris in the oak woodlands of San Diego County. I have a macro lens that goes to 2x, so I used 2x on this specimen. I love to think of the idea of these animals being larger, like volleyballs or basketballs, and little furry, fuzzy basketballs cruising around would be fun to see. You can see its eyes right here. These must be the pedipalps. Of course, arachnids have 8 legs, and in front of those are the pedipalps. And in front of the pedipalps are the chelicerae, but you can't see the chelicerae here. There's a scorpion, another scorpion under 360 nm UV. This is Stanchius, found in our local deserts. They like kind of hot, the hottest, harshest desert. I like this image, again, because the animal just kind of blends into blackness. This was photographed as found on a canyon wall. So actually behind this animal is rock, but you can't see it because of the light that I use and the fact that the rock in this instance is not fluorescent. So this is a different species found on the same night. This is actually a sand scorpion, as I showed on that first picture. But this sand scorpion was found in this kind of clay bank habitat. And here I used a combination of visual light, my headlamp, kind of covered that partially, and then gave it a little flash of 360 nm UV. So it's a combination of visible light out here and the UV. And I think that makes for a really cool effect. Of course, I shot these because you need to extend your exposure time to maybe 1 or 2 or 3 seconds. I shot these using a tripod, so I was toting my tripod around in the middle of the night in the desert and found the specimens and then set it up and shot it. Maybe I'll make a video of how to do that sometime later. Another cool thing about this is right there you can see something that looks like a comb. It's called the pectins. Those are the pectins of the scorpion. They're found on the ventral surface of the scorpion. They're used to sense chemicals and vibrations. Maybe I'll get a better image of some pectins sometime in the future. So we're still out in the desert, and here is a camel spider, which isn't a spider at all. It's a sulfugid. So these animals are awesome. Look how gnarly they look. These are the chelicerae, like the fangs of a spider, but these chelicerae kind of macerate together like scissors. These chelicerae have no venom, so these animals, even though they look gnarly, are harmless. They're really fast generally, so it's hard to photograph them at night, but in this instance, this animal was just kind of chilling on the desert floor, and I photographed it as found. Again, just 2 eyes, an arachnid with 2 eyes. Some have 8, some have 6, some have 4, some have 2, some have none. Oh, I love this little guy so much. This is a little Laniatories harvestman, like the daddy longlegs, like the opiliones that I showed before, but these are short-legged harvestmen, so short-legged daddy longlegs, which doesn't make any sense. I found this specimen in far northern California in conifer forests under serpentine rock. These are its awesome little pedipalps, kind of like the schizomids. They're little micro predators, and they like to be found near the surface, not on the surface generally, in the moisture months of the year. I love the elegance of these hairs that are just perfectly and evenly spaced, covering the body. And of course, this coloration that's how the animals look. They're kind of bright orange. If you flip a little piece of serpentine rock, they're very conspicuous, even though the animals are small, just a few millimeters. They're conspicuous because of their color. In that same trip in the conifer forests of far northern California, I found this wonderful long millipede. And it was coiled up under a piece of woody debris. I took this picture. I just kind of liked the light here and its legs. Oh, and this is neither an arachnid nor a salamander or reptile, so I guess I should have included Myriapoda there, but I forgot about that. And I think this might be the last image of the set. This is again a harvestman, but it's kind of atypical. I found this in far northern California under woody debris, and the animal is spectacular. It's called Trachis. 2 eyes, a gnarly spike behind its eye, very elongate chelicerae that are thought maybe they're used to catch snails. These pedipalps in front of the chelicerae with these fine hairs on them, which also are known to capture small prey items, maybe things like Columbella. This is the subadult, so it's not quite as dark as it's going to be, but it's fairly good sized, found under a log. And that's all I have for now.